Hello, everyone. Tony Costa here from Toronto Apologetics. I'm glad that you could join us. Today, I'd like to talk about the situation that's going on in the United States, particularly with the deportation of illegal migrants. As you know, one of the first things President Donald Trump did after being elected was he issued an executive order to deport illegal aliens from the United States. And of course, you have the usual suspects complaining and howling and yelling about the situation as somehow it's unjust, when it is within the right of every sovereign country to apply its immigration laws and to deport those who enter into its borders illegally. Now, of course, it must be stated that this is not a deportation of all immigrants. There are legal immigrants who've come into the United States legally and through the process, through the right portals, and paying their taxes and so forth to become citizens. And so we're not talking about the deportation of all immigrants. The United States is a country of immigrants, as is my country of Canada. In fact, I'm the son of immigrants as well, who came to this country and they came legally through the legal process and they paid their taxes, they worked, they became citizens, and so on. And so they entered the country legally and obeyed the law. Now, what we're seeing in the United States is what President Donald Trump's executive order is doing is it's removing those who are illegally in the United States, illegal immigrants. Now, the the Biden-Harris administration rather try to use words like undocumented persons. Well, let's call it what it is. It's illegal immigrants, illegal aliens that are in the country. Those are the ones that President Trump is targeting, and those are the ones that President Trump is saying that they need to be deported. Those who enter legally and obey the law, pay their taxes, become citizens, they're in the country legally. So after all, a sovereign country is supposed to be a country of laws. And without law, then all you have is chaos. There is no order. And so there's no surprise why we often speak of law and order. And there was even a TV series by that name, Law and Order. And so what is interesting is that others have jumped into the debate of what's been going on in the United States, and one of those has been Pope Francis, and he's come out swinging and basically calling what President Donald Trump what he's doing is he calling it disgraceful. And so I want to bring up a video of an interview that took place, and I will make any necessary comments that need to be made. And so let's take a listen here to this interview. And what I'll do is I will stop and make the necessary comments when needed. So let's listen to this.
What we're now doing with this new government, deporting all of these people. We've got, obviously there's going to be a lot of media searching for the sad stories here, trying to turn public opinion against this operation. What's your message to the American people as you guys do this work?
Well, let me give a message to the Pope. I'm a lifelong Catholic. I was born Catholic. I've been through Catholic doctrine. Look, he only concentrates on fixing the Catholic Church, first of all. He's got big problems there. And in the Vatican, they have a wall around the Vatican. If you illegally enter the Vatican, the crime is serious. You'll be charged with a serious crime, be jailed.
Yeah.
So he can protect the Vatican where he lives. He can build a wall where he lives. Where American people are not allowed that? No.
Let me just comment here. I mean, there's a very short clip, not very long at all. And so what is going on here is, of course, he's commenting on how the Pope is basically putting his nose into foreign affairs, which they're not really supposed to do. Of course, back in the medieval periods, they had tremendous power in politics, and they shaped the borders of Western Europe and so forth, and the New World. But what we're hearing here is that what the Pope should be concerned about is taking care of his own backyard. He is leading a very shattered, divisive church that is in disarray. He has said things that have raised a lot of eyebrows among faithful Roman Catholics, including Roman Catholic apologists. He's done things that many believe are contrary to canon law, trying to get rid of the Latin Mass and among other things, hosting a day of worship in Rome with indigenous idols and so forth. And that's just part of it. There's so much that can be said. And then his idea of blessing unions, including same-sex unions. But in particular, the quote here from the Pope, reported by the BBC, Trump planned to deport migrants, a quote, disgrace, close quote, says Pope. And so what the Pope is basically doing here is he's saying that Trump's plan to deport migrants is a disgrace. How is that a disgrace if the President of the United States, the highest office of the land, how is it a disgrace for the president to execute the laws of his own country and the Constitution of his own country? Is the Pope supposed to run the church based on canon law, ecclesiastical law? Do prime ministers and presidents and kings, excuse me, and queens, do they tell the Pope how to run the Roman Catholic Church? I don't think so. And so why is he telling Trump how to run the United States? And by saying that his plan to deport migrants is a disgrace, he's not deporting legal migrants. He's deporting illegal migrants. Now remember, Francis is a Marxist. He has brought out his Marxist colors many, many times. And he has spoken against the idea of closing the wall and sealing the wall at the southern border of the United States. And yet, as we shall see, the Pope doesn't seem to practice what he preaches. And so the very fact that he's attacking the President of the United States for executing the law of his country, how is that a disgrace when he is simply fulfilling the biblical mandate in Romans 13 that governments are to rule with the authority that God has given them, and that they are to punish evil and to reward the good? And so, how is it a disgrace to impose and implement laws pertaining to immigration and who's in and who's out and so forth? How is that a disgrace? I think what is a disgrace is Pope Francis's statement against the president of a sovereign state. No one tells him what to do. No one tells the Pope how to run Vatican City, which, by the way, folks, is a diplomatic immune city. It does not belong to Italy. It's not Italian property. It is a diplomatic neutral area under the jurisdiction of the Pope, under his leadership. So Vatican City, does anyone tell the Pope how he should run his affairs, how he should run the church, how he should run the Vatican? Of course not. Well, I'm just going to finish listening to this brief interview here, and then just got a couple of other things I want to share with you. Let me just bring the volume up here. For some reason, the volume keeps going off here. One moment, please.
Get raped by the cartel. Less children die in the river. Less Americans die from fentanyl overdoses. He ought to stick to it. He ought to stick to the Catholic Church and fix that. That's a mess.
Yeah, he's right. The Pope should stick to the Roman Catholic Church and take care of its affairs, because that's his job. That's what he should be doing, and he doesn't seem to be doing an all too good job in that area. And so when we hear about the Pope claiming that President Trump sending back these illegal migrants being a disgrace, and arguing that building this wall and not allowing them in, I think it's quite ironic that when we look at the Vatican and we look at the Vatican walls, it's quite interesting that the Vatican is surrounded by these massive walls. And why Pope Francis do you have walls around the Vatican? Why do you need those walls there? Now, I know the reason why. I understand the history behind this, and I understand the history behind walled cities and fortresses and so forth and so on. But to be consistent, um, Pope Francis, shouldn't you be tearing those walls down? Shouldn't you have an open border policy? In fact, will you open the Vatican for refugees, for migrants to come in there? Illegal migrants, by the way, not legal migrants. Can you let illegal migrants come and live in the Vatican? Can you house them there? And if not, why not? If the wall's a problem, well, why don't you tear them down? And so, what are the chances that Pope Francis will tear these walls down? What are the chances, do you think, that he would allow migrants to come and live in the Vatican? Probably next to no. Probably next to no. And the penalty, if you try to climb these walls, scale these walls, and jump into the Vatican, you can be charged with a serious offense of trespassing. So why is it that people can be charged with trespassing by jumping these walls into the Vatican, but people illegally entering into the United States, cartels and child traffickers and drug dealers and so forth, for some reason that should be allowed, and it would be a disgrace for the president of the United States to put a stop to that. It seems that it seems to me that Pope Francis protesteth too much here. And so the message that I have for Pope Francis in this particular case, I want to quote from an old president, a very well-known president, who was a significant figure in having walls come down. And I'm talking about President Ronald Reagan, who in June of 1987 went to the Berlin Wall. And in 1987, and of course before that, since the Second World War, there was a wall that separated West Germany from East Germany, and Western Germany was part of the West, the Allies, and of course Eastern Germany was under the control of the USSR, the Soviet Union, as it was known at the time before its collapse. And so here is President Reagan at the Berlin Wall in 1987, and this was his message to Mikhail Gorbachev, the leader of the Soviet Union. So let's listen to Ronald Reagan's message.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
So you heard what President Ronald Reagan said there. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. And so I'm going to give it my best Ronald Reagan impression here. Pope Francis, tear down this wall. Tear it down, Pope Francis. Tear down those walls of the Vatican. Be a practicer, a preacher rather, a practitioner of your own words. Let the migrants into the Vatican. Tear down the walls. We should have no borders. What are the chances, do you think, Pope Francis will actually do that? Nah, he won't do it. Anyway, folks, it just goes to show that there are those who, of course, speak and those who do. And the Pope is a good talker in this area. So I trust that this video was helpful. It maybe brought a few chuckles to you. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Let me know what you think about my Ronald Reagan impression, whether or not it was okay. Anyway, thanks again for watching, everybody. A lot of the stuff that, again, I speak about just briefly here in this video, a lot of what I talk about, I do talk about in my new book, No King But Christ. There's a copy of it behind my shoulder there. No King But Christ, the collapse and bankruptcy of secular worldviews. I discuss the issue of borders and sovereign states and the idea of who created the nation states and how God is the creator of nation states. He created nations, and how the Marxist view is to obliterate nations. That's why you hear people talk about no borders, a global village, one world without borders and distinctions and so forth. And so, again, if you're interested, I do discuss this and a lot more in my book, No King But Christ. I'll put a link to that in the description box below. And the book is readily available on Amazon. So thanks again, everyone, for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. God bless.